Good evening. You're listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Extreme Studios in the Pinos Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. We've got RDV from the Great Midwest here with me tonight. Running a few minutes behind RDV. I apologize. I was having to put my gerbils up. Tonight's movie, Tango Cash, is the last action movie of the 1980s. It's very significant because it's got two of our favorite actors here as an 80s-based channel. That would be Stallone and Kurt Russell.
Three of our actors, buddy.
Well, I said of the 80s because when the main bad guy that I'm going to spend a moment here talking about, Jack Palance, is the heavy. And apparently he wanted to do this film to act with Stallone, and they never did. So when you watch this film, you go, yeah, they're not really together ever. Jack Palance, I'm going to be honest with you, bro. He's the guy out of all the actors, even though we talk about tough guys like Bronson that could kick your ass, or Eastwood, or big muscular guys like Schwarzenegger. But in all honesty, two people scared me. The second most scary individual to me from the original Salem's Lot was, of course, what's his name? James Mason. Terrified the shit out of me as a kid. And I can still watch him. He still creeps me out. But the guy that creeped me out the most, even when he's doing B and C level films, some of which we've covered here in the Extreme Movie Show, it's Jack Palance. It's because of the way he talks, that maniacal look in his eyes. And rightly so. You pointed out while we were doing one of our Westerns, he's the bad guy in Shane. This guy's fucking awesome. This movie's incredible. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's it's really like the last hurrah of the 80s. Seriously, that's how I felt about it. And it's a fun action film. It gives you what you want.
We also have Brion James in here, 48 Hours. You know, what else he's been in? He's also another 48 Hours. He comes back. He's in Blade Runner, House 3, Fifth Element. This guy has been in a bunch of movies, man. Southern Comfort. Yes. You know, Enemy Mine. This guy is he plays the right hand man to Jack Palance in this stuff, and I love his role here too. It's just fun.
The Cockney accent.
The Brit. He's the Australian guy. Yeah, you know. He's actually American though.
but he did like some weird accent in here.
Yeah, he's trying to do the Cockney like Australian accent, mate. You know,
yeah,
it's bad, but it's funny though because I love the whole thing with the Fubar. When they play they do bad cop and worst cop with the grenade, you know, and they drop it on his pants. It's a dud, you know, and then like later on he's like, "This one's not a dud." Kicks him down the stairs.
Yeah.
I said he's great here too, but not on top of that. You're like, okay, you got Jack Palance, Brion James, you got Kurt Russell, and you got Stallone. But who else is in here?
We recently reviewed periodically James Bond films orders, and we just did. Was it Tomorrow Never Dies, which is the one?
I'm not talking about her, but she's in here. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's who I thought you were mentioning. Too,
oh no! I'm mentioning Big Trouble in Little China villain who's playing a villain again opposite of Kurt Russell.
Well, yeah, because he was in everything.
James Hong.
Yeah.
And he instantly gets blown away like he's a too big character in this. I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, I thought they would have given him more of a evil villain thing, but instead he just goes, "Wah!" He's flying. But this is Teri Hatcher. Obviously, is in here too. Teri Hatcher made a men out of a lot of boys in this movie when this came out. Her dancing up on stage, and for the life of me, I don't know why, but it's been so long since I watched this movie. I kept thinking that Teri Hatcher was supposed to be playing like, I guess which one's Cash is Stallone, right?
Yeah,
yeah. But I thought it was like supposed to be he was supposed to be playing like her father, and then I watched it again. I'm like, oh, it's his sister. Because he's so freaking older, much older than her and stuff, and like, but I don't know.
It doesn't rest you up, gerbils. I'm just dying.
I said it earlier. I don't know what you're saying, putting out my gerbils and starting.
Come on. Rats, whatever the hell they are. Oh, you're so beautiful. No, I'm telling you, this guy kills me because the whole movie, they try to do Kurt Russell plays Kurt Russell. He plays basically like Jack Burton minus the turning into John Wayne and being an idiot. But he plays that kind of character. And he's got
Tango Stallone.
We're going to do a separate stream one day, and I'm being dead serious when I say this, RDV. So just pocket this away in the back of your brain. We're going to be talk about mullets in movies because that was such a huge thing, and it kind of is on on its death knell right now, but I still see the occasional mullet down here in the South. And Kurt Russell's got a great one in here. But Stallone plays a really, really rich guy that's trades stocks and stuff like that, and he does this for kicks.
Who had the better?
He's dressed up in a suit. He looks good in here.
Mullet versus mullet. Who had the better mullet in the 80s? Was it Mel Gibson or Kurt Russell?
Yeah, I mean, see, that's right from the movie Thunderdome when we bring that back. It really is. I mean, that is.
I see him as playing Cash in here, Kurt Russell, but I kept thinking like Byrd on a Wire with Mel Gibson and Goldie Hawn.
One thing I do need to mention here, though, is, of course, we get the action introduction of both characters their own way and how they get forced together and then they get set up
by the book,
break
Cash,
out prison and stuff.
Yeah.
The thing I thought about we were watching this movie yesterday was this. Stallone, always we think of as an action hero, and we go back to Rocky 10, 15 years early as a writer. Okay, so maybe he doesn't have what you'd call a Hollywood face or look, but he has a look and he's interested in what he's doing. So one of the things he tried doing in the 80s, which we haven't honestly touched on a lot, is he really tried branching out a little bit into comedy, which something Schwarzenegger himself would even try to do. Well, Rhinestone, a lot of things, right?
I've seen clips of Rhinestone, and I've never watched it, and I really want to watch it. It looks bad, but interestingly bad.
Well, here's the thing with Stallone. There's a lot of one-liners in here, which is great, even if they're stupid.
It kind of looks like Tulsa King.
Stallone's timing on the delivery, I go, he's almost like a natural. It's just you don't think of him being funny.
No. Like I said, Tulsa King is really opened up my eyes to him doing a little bit of sarcastic comedy stuff. You know, he tried to do it, and that's the problem is that when he tried doing it with his Tango, makes a joke at the end. So it's just like it just felt like I was getting like don't stop or my mom will shoot kind of humor. And I was like, this is so cringe, so bad. But Tulsa King, like the way they're doing it on that show, the dialogue is a little better, and the way he carries himself. He's a much older guy, and he has a subtle kind of like common sense kind of like jokes. And
a little more smart assy.
Yes. And I'm honestly, if that's what he does in Rhinestone, I'm all for it.
Gotcha.
I mean, plus he gets these Dolly Parton too. She's hot.
Well, I mean, she's obviously really, a name, especially here in the South and all that too. Certainly more back then than what she is now, being older. I just think the thing with Stallone is they went against type. They've got him dressed up nice. They got his hair cut. They've got him in glasses. What'd you think about him pulling out the gun and shooting the semi coming at him?
It's okay.
That means you didn't like it. Come on, man.
Like I said, his whole persona is, I kept thinking like, it's top where my mom will shoot. I got the gun and stuff, and it's just like I got the ankle gun, the nice socks. I kept thinking about this movie like this is before there was Rush Hour, there was this movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a buddy cop thing.
What did we do recently that reminds you of buddy cop going back? A Walter Hill film. What would
Walter Hill film thing too? And I'm trying to think, what was Lethal Weapon? Was that 90?
No, Lethal Weapon was like 86.
86. So this is right after, like right around there.
But what about 48 Hours?
48 Hours. I'm just saying it's the same kind of humor though. You have the one where it's more serious guy, the other one's more like the loose cannon.
Exactly.
And honestly, for me, I like this movie, but I think this is the only three movies that are allowed to do that are Lethal Weapon, Tango and Cash, and 48 Hours. I'm sorry, Rush Hour does not fit with the rest of those other three.
Well, that's because of your documented hatred of Chris.
No, I don't hate Chris. I just thought it was like you're just copying three other movies that have already done this before, and you're not adding anything new to it. You're just basically making fun of Japanese people,
I can see that, I suppose.
Yeah, I was just it's very, very out there. I'm like, and then just like, yeah, Chris. Like I said, Chris Tucker can be funny, but like I said, it's just I'm like, I've already watched Chris Rock. Do it better,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, but we're not just about talking about Rush Hour. But Rush Hour did bring us, some beautiful women in the movies. I'll say that as actresses. But going back to this Tango and Cash, we were talking about this before we went live. It's the last action movie of the 80s.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
Like, which is like kind of crazy to think about it. You know, because and then obviously there were some action movies. You could say some action movies like GoldenEye came out like years later in the 90s stuff, you know, but 80s action compared to 90s action is a whole different genre of this level of action.
And I've always told you in 80s movies, I miss nudity in film. Some people go, oh, that's just, you just want to see boobies. You just
It doesn't have to be, here's the thing, it doesn't have to be full on nudity. It's just be like a little scene here or there and that's gone.
Yeah, you should always look for a reason to take your shirt off if you're a guy, no matter what you look like. That's my opinion as a man. You take your shirt off because men take their shirts off, right?
One of the other things, yeah, and as we talk about that, when one of the things I love about this movie is it reminds me of Lockup. When Stallone has to go in the jail, go to the prison. Yes. They have to work together. Yes. Of course, you got these guys are going to beat them up, give all the criminals they put away because they're framed for a murder that they didn't do or whatever, or embezzling, whatever. And they're in there and they basically have to fight their way out. And the one thing I've always loved this movie is like it is beyond belief. You know, you got to suspend your. You're having so much fun. You don't even care the fact that they're somehow ziplining across electrical wires and not getting electrocuted.
I know.
And using handcuffs. Or no belts. That's what his belts.
It was the belt.
But I mean, like, they wouldn't went straight down. But
we don't care.
No. That's the thing about 80s movies. You can suspend your belief, you know, because you're just having so much fun. The music's great, the characters, their personalities. I know. Like I said, I like Stallone in more of the serious roles, but I mean, like this was kind of like him trying to be serious, you know, in a movie that's not serious. And I don't never really care for like roles like that, you know.
Well, you gotta when you have the buddy cop thing.
Not when you're the main character.
That it's going to be a comedy, right?
Yeah.
And so when we talk about 48 Hours, that did a really good job of balancing between kind of being a bit more serious and adult-like, and with some comedy stuff thrown in, as evidenced by like the country redneck bar scene, right? Where you can. I think it's difficult, especially today, where you can kind of blend, you know, being mature. Pointing out some racist kind of potential things like in the bar scene and just doing it where you walk out and go, man, this was really cool. Yet it was progressive at the time, giving a guy that you've got on the 48-hour weekend pass your badge and gun to see what he can do because it's all in the name of doing something good. So the thing about Tango Cash is, they come at it differently about this drug deal where they get set up, which is kind of cool how they got set up. Because what it is Jack Palance isn't having any of it. He's like, Tango and Cash.
Here's something.
Tango, they can walk in and steal all of my drugs. Tell me how many millions, and just whatever. And you're like, God damn it, I'm already hooked. And so he basically handles it himself, and he sets them up with the dead body and get recorded. And you're like, uh-oh, he fucked them. And that's good, right? But you never really see them interact, which is the only
there is one more action movie that came out in '89. It was Roadhouse.
When did it get released?
I'm not looking. Well, that year, I'm not sure. It was But basically, I was looking at the setup for this film. They were gonna actually have Patrick Swayze and Kurt Russell, but he did Roadhouse.
That's right.
Imagine if he didn't Roadhouse, and we wouldn't have had Roadhouse.
Well, or
Kurt Russell does Roadhouse. Yeah, like take movies and you swap out characters and actors and I'm just you get entirely different movies. Patrick Swayze and Stallone in this would have been a wholly different movie, and I think it would have been never would have called classic. It would have never hit that cult status because Kurt Russell is just a wild cannon. He has that. He has that what Ryan Reynolds wants, in a sense.
Well, that's an interesting way of saying it.
Well, Ryan Reynolds acts like the kid, where this is a man who's a little bit boyish, you know, his charms, you know, but he's still a guy. Kurt Russell, the way he acts. Where Ryan Reynolds is like kid trying to act like a man in some of his movies.
Yeah, and he's always going to be a child to me. I mean, that's just how.
Well, that's his humor, though. That's his humor. He does the Deadpool Ryan Reynolds humor, the Van Wilder stuff, where Kurt Russell has the rugged good looks, and he has more like the Tom Cruise kind of like wink charm, you know, pretty boy.
Some people would say that about him. It's funny because when I'm looking at December 1989 of what got released December 1st, Christmas Vacation, and then She-Devil, and War of the Roses, which is Michael Douglas. So I'm looking, and Driving Miss Daisy came out on the 13th. Where No Angels was the 15th. Born on the 4th of July was December 20th. That was big. Tango and Cash, December 22nd. And the only other movie that came out, limited release, was something called The Gang of Ford, I don't recall, and something called Music Box. That's it. So this is definitely the last movie or action movie, or last wide release, it appears to be, from 1989. So we've already had the Toxic Avenger 3 the month before. So all these little sub kind of second and third kind of movies coming out were still there in the 80s, but nobody really paid attention to them unless it was something like a canon classic that you and I would be interested in.
This was because this was December 22nd when it came out.
Right.
Yeah. We also had Dead Bang earlier that year too. Don Jacobs.
And who remembers that?
Or Don Johnson. I think it's Don Johnson, actually. Yeah.
Good evening, Anthony.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite scene?
Favorite scene in this? Like I said, I have two for me. It's mine is when they're Brion James is basically tied up. They got him on the roof and they're interrogating him. They want to know and stuff. They got a grenade taped to his mouth.
Good cop, bad cop on the rooftop.
It was bad cop, worst cop.
That's what they called it, right?
Yeah. And Tango is pretty much like the villain and like a deranged thing, because they have his sister. Where's my sister? He's deranged. And you got Cash, who's pretty much Kurt Russell's character. He's like, dude, hey, I'm out of here. And I love how he's like, oh, fuck you, you're a psychopath, I'm out of here, and leaves. And then the guy's like, it's like he basically is like, what? He tells him where they have to take off. He tells him where it is, and then like Kurt Russell drops a pen, drops it inside his pants, and they walk away. And the guy's like, it was a dud. So, and I saw the call up to that scene later on in the end when they come across again. He's got they're fighting, and he's like, hey, guess what? Remember this? Drops his pants, kicks him down the stairs, and he's like, and the guy explodes as he hits the ground, and Stallone's like, what? Fubar. He's got the little pin on his finger.
Well, one thing too that struck me about that scene that was one of your favorites is that we also saw in the 80s, I think even Crocodile Dundee, they had one where you would see people on the outside ledge of a building in the downtown, usually LA, right? Where you're starting to hang somebody or drop them off or whatever. Even Stallone or Schwarzenegger did it, right? Yeah, you said Matrix that you'd kill me. He was like, I lied, and he drops them off, right? So, I mean, you're like, oh, God, because you're right. It's not necessarily original, and a lot of these are pieced together scenes of stuff we've seen 50 million times before. But because of the energy and the chemistry of these two, it works. You're right. It has absolutely got all those explosions with that white spark that, is prevalent in the 80s. It's silly.
The whole scene at the end where they're in the RV, the souped up RV thing, with the Gatling gun on one side, and just like, and they get the. It was interesting because this is before they had computers, but it wasn't like didn't have like all the fancy technology. So so they're communicating with this guy through the computer. This guy basically invented this super prototype thing. And they drive it in, and they're able to communicate with them through a TV monitor stuff, which was like they're basically doing Zoom call. Mm-hmm. I always loved about that because they really didn't have that back then, but that was kind of like a new thing. They're trying this movie fantasy thing.
Well, the 80s, they definitely, and I mentioned this only briefly when we talked about some early 80s movies. The one with Christopher Walken and Natalie Wood, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, like 82, 83. Oh. The whole thing with computers and technology, they really something, but the 80s tried taking what was current in technology and putting it out there and trying to apply it. You definitely had that. And so to me, whenever they would do it, you would have these older screens that would have like the green text and all that really blocky font or whatever. And back then, nobody had computers in their classrooms. Apple tried getting into schools in the early 80s. That's how they actually got their footing, because otherwise they were an expensive paperweight that nobody really used. And I know some people are going, how dare you talk like that? Well, that's the reality of Apple. I mean, it's not like they were creative, or Microsoft, but everything back then just was kind of on their own. And it was kind of a wild, exciting time too. Sony actually was considered cutting edge, whereas nobody likes Sony now because it's proprietary on everything. But it's not a main factor of the movie. It's about drugs, because that's the 80s.
The movie you're thinking about is Brainstorm for 83.
There you go.
Another good movie.
Yeah, very good movie. Very.
But
in that case, technology is a part of the film, which is why it was important, and they did it very well.
So
here it doesn't have to
just
be.
like Beverly Hills Cop 3 or whatever, when he gets the super gun, that he gets from the guy at the yeah. This was kind of like the same thing. We get a souped up RV, prototype thing. It's like, it's bulletproof, and it has a NOS thing. I love how it's like they're like both are like, what's NOS? I don't know. Beats me. Let's go. Like a boost thing. They drive into this compound, and immediately, they have this Gatling gun on there, and I'm like, okay, is one of them gonna type in a program, use like a stick shift, for video games, control it and aim it around, No, apparently it just fires by itself. It sets a sentry mode or whatever. I was like, oh, that's kind of lame. But the thing is that they drive in there, and also they have it becomes like a demolition derby. The final scene, one of the final
it's kind of lame though.
It was lame, and that's what I mean. They drive in there, and immediately there's 17 cars or trucks, and the guys out the window shooting guns. I'm like, you have a freaking Gatling gun. Drive towards them. You're bulletproof. Instead, they turn around and flee. And then these guys sit back and they have rocket launchers and they're firing missiles, and they end up hitting their own guys. And they're and they drive around. And he's like, well, Tango, I got good for you. He's like, what's that, Cash? Well, what the good news or bad news? Well, what's the bad news? We're out of gas. Good news, we're out of gas. I'm like, yeah, what are you driving on, a 7 miles per gallon freaking truck? How much did you waste of it driving there to get to that location? But I was like, yeah, it was kind of then you get these monster trucks chasing them at the end. And then they get the giant earth movers, the scrapers, the construction machines. They have to jump. It starts pinning them, and I'm getting flashbacks to Planes, Trains, and Automobile with the semis.
Mm-hmm.
But they crawl out and they drive the trucks. They take over the construction vehicles and they drive into the building, and then they get in there oh, look at all the guns. Start stockpiling. Then you realize, oh, I think this guy's gonna blow up the building they're in. Quick, grab as much guns as you can. They gotta get these cool looking rifles, automatic rifles, futuristic looking.
Mm-hmm.
Again, and then that leads to them basically taking out James Hong and another guy, and just before they get to the whole thing, and then the whole mirror thing with Jack Palance at the end.
Oh, this is cool. Come on, man. I like this. This is right. This right out of Scaramanga and the Man with the Golden Gun.
Gun. John Wick 2 and 1.
God, I never thought of that. I should Google here why Jack Palance was never a James Bond villain.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious. But go ahead.
But no, well, Jack Palance would have been I don't know. Jack Palance as would you have him trade places with Christopher Walken?
I love Christopher Lee, so that's a no. Because Christopher Lee's pretty terrifying. I remember him as Dracula, but once he spoke, part of his scariness went away, and I just looked at him as a really cool older guy.
What was the one with Duran? View to a Kill? Would you take out Christopher Walken and put in Jack Palance?
I don't know why everybody loves Christopher Walken. I'm not saying he's bad, but he's not scary.
And he's eccentric, and he kind of comes off as crazy, like all of them were. Even the guy with Moonwalker, the villain at the end, the space Nazi.
But that was a eugenics thing, and so that I didn't really look at him as scary either.
But Christopher Walken, if you see him in the movies like The Prophecy and stuff like that and stuff, you can see he can really play a psychotic person.
But not in a Bond film. He was a goof.
Well, that's the thing about Bond villains. They're all goofs.
Yeah, that's too bad.
I know.
Most of them, but in the next movie we do, maybe the bad person is not. But I don't want to spill any guts.
I gotta say though, I love the fact that Mission Impossible Tom Cruise kept the Bond villains, their goofs kind of thing, their villains, especially with the last one, with the guy who was like, "Well, I'm one step ahead of you, Ethan." It was Eli, whatever his name is. I can't remember. But anyway, getting back to this movie, this is a buddy cop movie. If you've never seen this, it's free on Tubi right now. You can go watch it for free. Teri Hatcher is before she started in Dean Cain's Superman and Lois. No, New Adventures of Superman. That's what it was. Lois and Clark.
If you'd watched MacGyver like me in the 80s, you'd already seen her, and you're like, hey,
sure. Yeah. But this is the last thing she did. Kind of it was a big thing she did, and then she went on to that TV show for 4 seasons.
Okay, yeah, that's when I knew she kind of blew up there. She got a recurring role in a popular show.
Some would say it was this movie, The Exposure.
Well, it helps when you get the rub by being in a Stallone and Russell film that's popular and makes money.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, that's what it comes down to. You just never know. Even if it's a bit role, it can elevate you, right?
I was looking at this movie, and I kept thinking, like, okay, was this movie a dud? No, it wasn't. Did a budget $54 million, walked away with 124.4 million or 0.4 million, whatever. I hate the 0.4s, whatever. 120 million.
And there's been talk of a sequel, even as recently as 5 years ago, where Stallone's got an idea, but like Russell's like, yeah, I really don't know about that. So, you know, and it had a very troubled production for people to give a shit about that stuff. That's why it seems very incomplete. Remember how we talked about when we did Rambo recently, how the original movie got cut a lot and the time got taken out, and Stallone rewrote a lot about it, and it's more serious or whatever. We had a similar situation here with people getting fired and Stallone keeping it afloat and all that too.
Yes, that's why 3 directors.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess of a film.
And Andrei Konchalovsky, the Russian director who did a few other things, but and then you also had Albert Magnoli. You recognize him because he did Purple Rain, American Anthem. He also did the 1980. He also edited Reckless from 1984. And then you had Peter McDonald, who came on, who worked on Guardians. He recently was working on Guardians of the Galaxy, Born Ultimatum, Harry Potter, and the Prisoner of Azkaban, or whatever.
That's some cred there.
Yeah. So he had 3 directors. So it's like it just felt like, wow, is this one of those movies where you just kept like, oh, we're gonna get rid of this guy, you're gonna get another guy, because originally Andrei started with it was treatment directed by him, but that with Albert Magnoli, but and Peter McDonald basically took over the later stages of the filming, with Stuart Byrd overseeing post production. So it's like multiple directors due to long trouble production process, as you said, and the script clashes, rewrites, and all stuff with the producer and Andrei. So that's why it just got to the point where they felt like this movie probably wasn't going to be made. Stallone was the main reason why it kept going, and it's just, you look at this movie like Tango Cash. When I think of Tango Cash, a lot of people I think kind of snub at it. They're like, this is because you automatically assume the way it's written and stuff. Like, there's no way this movie was a big hit. This had to have been like a box office flop, because it doesn't come off like a big blockbuster. It feels like it just tried too hard.
Well,
one
of the things going on in the 70s going into the 80s was you had, like I say, you had limited television access, right? So people became mainstays in certain things. You talk about like Wheat Martingale with games, but of course people think The Price is Right, and that was Bob Barker, right?
Yeah.
And then of course Jeopardy, the relaunch of it in the 80s, got super popular, right? But Johnny Carson as a late night host, my parents would always have on, always watch. There's a few other shows they would put on. And I remember all these old timers and watching some old films, and it was weird because we're like, oh, this is Charlton Heston, and he was in this, but now he's this, and it's this, 20 years later. And as a kid, that time perception is off. I clearly recall Jack Palance getting on Carson and just ripping the fuck out of this movie. And the thing with Jack Palance is he kind of, I'm not going to say resurfaced because he did B stuff, but he was very popular in Ripley's Believe It or Not as a TV show because he would, always at the end find some variation to go, believe it or not, and breathe heavy. And I'm kind of exaggerating there, but I went down the Jack Palance rabbit hole because as a kid, there were certain things you always saw growing up. You saw Lassie, you saw Shane, you saw Mice and Men, you saw The Ten Commandments. There were a few other movies that never really made it till maybe the 80s when you could have the opportunity to do it. So you'd have to go into the theater to see it. And to me, Jack Palance is the guy in Shameless, just like you say, a scary fucker. I'm like, oh, this guy's still around. But the thing about Ripley's Believe It or Not, I went down there and this is what the internet's for and useful for. Somebody went through every episode of Ripley's Believe It or Not and spliced every single time he said believe it or not. And it's like 15 minutes of gold, and I reposted that because this guy, he's a poet, he's a legitimate war hero like you and I have talked about with some of the older actors, right? So he's got that. He was known for like his vitality and his life and the energy behind his eyes, especially in his 60s, which is the 1980s. So by the time he got to City Slickers and he did the one-arm push-ups, everybody was going batshit crazy. So here's a guy that writes poetry, was doing stage stuff, did B films. and just kind of got a career kind of, like I say, in the 60s that a lot of these older guys didn't get a chance to do. So he's in that group of all the other ones too, but nobody ever really talks about Jack Palance that way.
Here's the other thing too. There's a supporting character, the mechanic in here in this movie, Michael J. Pollard. Do you recognize him or anything growing up?
I probably would. I'll pull him up while you're talking about
I was going to say, here's what he's basically frequently guest was on TV, was on Andy Griffith Show, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Star Trek, regular in support of Harvey Korman and Valerie Perry in the short-lived sitcom Leo and Liz, Beverly Hills.
Oh, this guy, he was everywhere.
Yeah,
no, I remember.
As I said, like,
yes, he's the shitty Q ripoff.
He
the stuff at the end.
His most famous role though was Bonnie and Clyde, 1967. He was the getaway driver. He was like the child, because his character always came off like a child, kind of slow guy, kind of like a
Down syndrome boy.
He was the guy. If I had to cast the Toyman villain from Superman, that would have been him, because he kind of has he almost because remember there was also the guy in what was it? He was an inventor or in Blade Runner, the guy who was creating the robots, and they came and killed him. Like I would have. This guy reminds me just like him. This guy has like he just has a childlike presence, but he can also play like this guy should have played villains. It would have been. I would have been better off with that, But he always played like the simple kind of like yes, when like a respectful guy and stuff, childlike,
He's got an incredible butt chin. He does. I no lie.
Everything but chin. No. But yeah, like I said, I'm looking at characters that are in this movie that kind of popped out, and then you also had. Well, speaking of that, Clint Howard's in here too as well. We got Phil Tan. We got Robert Czar. If you don't remember, Czar is his character is called Face because his face. He has the really bad plastic surgery. It looks like he has a giant tick. Remember like the tick cartoon, the giant chin.
Yep.
His whole face. He must have had botched surgery or something because this guy looks like he stepped out of a Dick Tracy movie.
Yeah.
But the whole cast was really cool there too. I said.
Well, you and I've always kind of have joked that the Commando being the greatest Father's Day movie of all time currently, until somebody proves otherwise, it was kind of like the turning point, or at least that's the idea I put on it. When things just turn into explosions and cheap shit rather than, one-on-one ass kickings, which are still in short supply. But this being the last action movie, I mean, it's got the legitimate claim to it. And you said something there that I thought was really spot on about how people didn't really consider this maybe top notch, because it did make money, it did do well, but things are already starting to change going into the 90s, and there's definitely a different feeling in the air at this point when it comes to martial arts and what an action film should be, and the types of larger than life characters for it. Well, here, Kurt Russell, I'm not going to say look, I love Kurt Russell, but he's kind of overdoing it here a little bit. But that's a shtick, like Jack.
We already had Lethal Weapon, and I thought Lethal was great. Yes. And then you come into this, it's like this feels like a rehash.
I don't disagree, and I don't mind.
I'm not saying it's a bad.
But we've got these two guys, and when they're on screen together, so we're going to go. It's like take my money right off the bat. It doesn't.
The only reason this made money because who the actors were.
Exactly.
And exactly, that's the only reason people want to go see it, because Stallone was still good off of Rocky and the Rambo movies, First Blood, and stuff. And had Big Trouble in Little China, which I think was 80s too. Yeah,
that was 86, I think.
Yeah. So Kurt Russell was a big name, and then you also had Overboard. I'm not sure whether that was 90s. I think that's still 80s. Yeah.
Him and Goldie Hawn on that. Everybody loved that movie. I'm like, I don't want to see that, but people love that. Was it Kevin Vaughn?
Yeah. Other actors in this movie was Edward Bunker, Runaway Train, the sheriff, the warden. We call him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeffrey Lewis is another character. He pops up in a lot of things too.
Well, I'll just close with this. I mean, I marked out on it already. I think everybody knows where I stand on it. Love Stallone, love Kurt Russell. But this movie's all about Jack Palance, and the 10 minutes or so maybe he's got screen time. He owns it. I wish I could see more of this Jack Palance, and he's done so many things. I'm sure we're going to cover more of him. But this is what it means by as soon as the light's on and he starts talking immediately and you're listening to it, you start like trembling like you're a little chihuahua. You start, dribbling and, pissing your pants a little bit. and he's just being absolutely fucking stupid dumb in here with the mice and what he does it. But looking at him, it's great. And the last thing too is how we meet him. It's the classic shot of the guy's got the pinky ring outside the window as he's observing the lesser human beings outside his limo, because he's got that shot where he's talking to the people across the limo from him. We don't even have that shot anymore with bad guys to go, hey, this is an ass kicking, bad dude, and establishing it. So Jack Palance is tremendous in there. I'm glad they got him in there. It really kind of kept him in the mainstream till City Slickers and all that too. So, one of the first guys for me to really go. Not only was he fantastic, he didn't seem like he was old and decrepit, and still could be menacing. And then later on, people would be like Bronson would be the same way in Eastwood as well. So glad to see it, love it. If nothing more, watch this movie, have a good time with it. Don't take it seriously.
Kurt even brought in Bing. His dad was in here.
Yeah.
And he was the guy driving. He was one of the guys driving the vans.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of funny. And if you go back and watch it, you kind of see his face a little bit. But Tango Cash, as I said, is a movie that it's. I'm just wondering, because there's a lot of movies that are fun movies, and I always find out like, oh, these were not that great. They bombed. What? In theaters? What? How? Like, get your stick out of your ass. Like, and this was a movie that is one of those good movies, and I would have thought, okay, looking up, okay, this probably bombed. It probably would, because, whatever reason, because it came out against.
Talks about it,
and also because it came out against Batman the same year in '89, and Last Crusade, Ghostbusters 2, and was in the top 10. And I'm looking at some of these movies, I'm thinking like, how the heck is this movie not in the top 10 compared to some of the movies they had there? But anyway, though,
I believe Jack Palance was in that Batman as well. Correct. I don't know my Batmans very well, but I could have swore he was in one of them.
It's Keaton's first film, '89.
Okay.
I don't think he was.
Well, that would have been this year.
Yeah.
They did that.
Yeah,
We're talking about. Okay,
that's why I brought it up. '89 was Batman was the number one movie, followed by second movie. It was Crusade, Indiana Jones: Last Crusade.
Yeah. Wow.
So. Yeah. Right.
Just what a treasure to see Jack Palance at peak performance, because you know what, he brings it here. Or if he's doing like some of the Eurotrash import stuff we've covered, like gore and outlaw of gore and stuff, it's like, whatever, just give me the script and everything. He's funny and he's sharp and he's very intelligent. Just a tremendous. So this guy is very old school. It was nice to see old school with new school at the time.
Also,
late 80s here.
If you guys, we did a playlist in here. We did our top 10 movies of each year of the 80s, so check that out and see where Tango and Cash is even if it's on mine, Professor Pixel's, or Rob's list. I can't remember. It's been like about a year or two. But definitely a good movie, worth checking out. Like I said, it's free on Tubi, and if you watch it on your PC with your ad blocker, no commercials, don't worry about it, you can just watch all the way through. That being said, because I had fun, man. I now want to shout out to MKF30. What's up, man? Good to see you back in your channel. Anthony, it's always great seeing you. Desert Rose, and anyone else who might be watching on the replay, or just not commenting. I saw we went up to like 6 people here. It's great to see, because this channel, I just feel like a lot of people forget that we go live on Tuesdays and Sundays. So if you guys have time, or if you guys watching the replay, we love that too. Let us know what you thought of this movie. Just leave a comment down below in the comment section, and I think we're going to wrap it right around here.
One quick question for you, RDV, that I don't want an answer for, but I'm posting it for the people listening. I've been so tempted for the month of October to do what a lot of people do and do 30 days of Halloween, where we upload a horror movie every day, the ones that we don't go live on. So if that's something that would interest you guys, let us know that too, because we've definitely gone out of our way to kind of look at some alternative movies for that.
I saw some people already started their Halloweens. I'm like, it's September 14th. You wait till October.
Down here in Central Florida, I think the high today was 86, but it was dry and there was a slight breeze. For us, that felt like fall. My dog noticed the difference.
Our friend Mike from Comic Corner 2.0, he said before we live, he's like, I'm going to Halloween Horror Nights. I'm like, it's September, bro.
Over at Universal, I'm telling you, I have a private hookup there that I know that goes on all that. If you guys ever in Central Florida, look up Halloween Horror Nights. It's probably one of the better Halloween experiences that you're ever going to have. And I think this year's theme is Fallout.
My thing is that I treat they have to follow the same rules as Walmart and everything else. I don't want to see Christmas 2 months before. I don't want to see Halloween a month before.
And it's a sexy adult vibe. It's not this. I've been in the cornfield at night and it's scary, so I don't want to go back again.
You've been in the Midwest?
Just I am. You're not the only one that's seen the corn maze or a scarecrow.
I don't know what's more scary, politics in Illinois or being in Illinois down south where the corn.
It would be 3 episodes into Shudder's Hell Motel with really horrible acting and no sexiness, and you're just trying to plow through it, and you're killing yourself because you're punishing yourself. Because that's what you do with horror movies, is you intentionally punish yourself.
Last year we did do the Universal horror movies.
Yes, we did.
I know there's a couple we still have not done yet.
Oh, there's a whole bunch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I consider Universal, like the good ones, it's like we did Invisible Man. We did, I believe we did. Did we do Dracula? Picture Black Lagoon. Did we do Dracula? I think
we also alternated with the Oliver Reed werewolf movie from Hammer, and how the Hammer variations were different than the Universals. We did do those. We did the lesbian Irish vampire one a year or two ago. That was actually a very good movie. Well, I mean, lesbian-ish.
Bagora.
No, it was very good. It was actually was.
No, I'm
not
good
saying horror movies out there.
I'm just saying, because it's Irish thing we do on the channel. I don't keep up, but should we do Irish voices for a lot of things? No. So when you bring up Irish, I think of Irish vampires. It's like
when I think of Irish, I think of the original Star Trek with Charlie or whatever like that, and he's singing "I'll Be Home Again, Kathleen" or "Irish Eyes Are Smiling" or something. Good night now.
Later, guys. Remember,